Hi. Good morning, everyone. I am Gabrielle Fialkov, Senior Advisor to the Mayor and Director of the Office of Strategic Partnerships. And I want to thank you for joining us today at the door, which has served as a sanctuary for New York City's most disconnected young people for more than 40 years. Our city has a long history of supporting the door in their efforts, and we are so proud to be here with them again today. The door is named such for an important reason. Here and at similar community-based organizations all across our city, the door is always open to some of our most vulnerable New Yorkers. Individuals who come through seeking necessary and trusted help. These organizations serve very different people in diverse scenarios, but more often than you would think, their clients have one thing in common. They are struggling with a mental health condition. In the midst of a nationwide mental health crisis, these at-risk populations face an even higher prevalence for serious psychological distress. It could be depression, anxiety, or substance abuse. In the case of the vulnerable youth that walk into the door, they are actually at an age when people usually begin to exhibit early signs of serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia or psychosis. And they are all typically without immediate access to mental health care. Resources like needs assessments or coping or counseling, the tools they need to be well. In New York City, we know this is unacceptable. And here's why. Health, especially mental health, is a key component to one's success. And empowering all New Yorkers to be successful, productive members of society is one of the steps we must take in this city to address income inequality. At the Office of Strategic Partnerships and throughout all of City Hall, we know that the public sector is not alone in taking this on. We know that we must work with the private sector as well to find opportunities to impact meaningful change in the lives of New Yorkers. Pooling our resources and expertise to implement creative solutions to solve our city's most pressing problems. And they are all of our problems, young or old, rich or poor. We all benefit from a city where everyone can access the help they need and everyone has an equal chance to thrive. Mayor de Blasio created the Office of Strategic Partnerships with a clear mandate. Harness the power of the private sector, bring it together with the scale of the public sector, to forge public-private partnerships to make a difference in the lives of all New Yorkers. And we are fulfilling that mandate. Today, we are very excited to announce a new major public-private initiative to address the crisis of mental health care in our city. To make this announcement, I am so proud to introduce someone who is a tireless advocate for those silently suffering from mental health conditions. As chair of the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, she also understands the power of public-private partnerships to touch New Yorkers in every corner of our city. And she is using her role to put those partnerships to work on behalf of all New Yorkers every day. Please join me in welcoming First Lady of New York City, Chirlane McCray.
Thank you, Gabrielle. Good afternoon, everyone. And what a fantastic afternoon it is, because we have some very big news to share. The City of New York has been selected to receive a Social Innovation Fund grant of up to $10 million from the Corporation for National and Community Service. This grant is the centerpiece of a $30 million public-private partnership that will launch Connections to Care, an innovative effort to bring mental health services into the communities where they are needed most. This is the largest public-private initiative to date of the de Blasio administration. It is also one of the largest of this type of initiative in the 21-year history of the Mayor's Fund. You can clap if you want. I am grateful to many people for helping us make this announcement possible. I thank Gabrielle Fialkov, who you've just heard from, and Darren Block, the Executive Director of the Mayor's Fund. Gabrielle and Darren, with their outstanding team and our city agency partners, are creating even more enthusiasm for the Mayor's Fund with terrific programs our private sector is very eager to be involved in. I want to say thank you also to the Corporation for National and Community Service and their visionary CEO, Wendy Spencer. Wendy has spent much of her career helping to bringing hope and hope to people in crisis, so her support for our work is a very big deal. We are deeply grateful to the philanthropic partners who have kicked off our match funding, the Perelman family, the Chapman Perelman Foundation, and the Beneficus Foundation. And I have tremendous praise for our Health Commissioner, Dr. Mary Bassett, and our Executive Deputy Commissioner for Mental Hygiene, Dr. Gary Belkin, who are both with us today. They are the mighty engine behind our budding mental health initiative, and this grant is further proof that they are firing on all cylinders. I salute Mindy Tarlow, Matthew Klein, and everyone at the City Center for Economic Opportunity, which work closely with the Mayor's Fund. Thank you. The Center for Economic Opportunity supports our anti-poverty innovation and evidence-based policies and will play an important role in implementing Connections to Care. I especially appreciate our wonderful host, The Door. They are an acclaimed pioneer when it comes to bringing a wide array of services under one roof. Now, the significance of this multi-million-dollar grant cannot be measured in dollars alone. It is a resounding vote of confidence in the Mayor's Fund, in this administration, and in our effort to build a true mental health system, one that is accessible and culturally competent and reaches people in their communities. Now, our effort began in earnest back in January when I announced the city's long-term commitment to addressing the mental health crisis. And it is truly a crisis. 1 in 4 adults in New York State will suffer from a diagnosable mental health condition in any given year. If we were talking about the flu or heart disease, we would declare it an epidemic. Nearly every family has been touched by mental illness, including my own. Both of my parents suffered from depression. Our daughter Kiara is in recovery now from depression, anxiety, and addiction. And I embrace this challenge for them. I embrace this challenge for all our families and for every New Yorker who still suffers in silence. During the past 7 months, I've traveled all around the city talking to all kinds of people about their personal experiences with mental health. And I've heard so many stories. Some of them have moved me to tears. And here's how one young person summed up the concerns that I hear most frequently. First Lady, it is way too hard to find the right services or programs. Everyone's got a waiting list, and they don't speak my language or understand my culture. Today's announcement could not be a better response to a need that is so loud and clear that even our friends in Washington have heard it. Connections to Care will begin bringing mental health treatment into sites that already provide other services to our most vulnerable and low-income New Yorkers. The staff at these sites will be trained to identify people who suffer from conditions that are prevalent and will be trained in how to direct them to treatment. Although depression, anxiety, and substance use disorders are common, the struggle to deal with them is deeply personal. Whether or not someone will reach out for help or accept that help is often about trust. We are much more likely to talk openly if we are sitting with someone we are comfortable with. And The Door is a great example of the power of trust in action. Some young people come here for career training, some come for ESOL classes, some come here to talk about their sexual identity with adults who won't judge them. And while they may not know it, The Door is also a place where they can get mental health services. And that's because every staff member every staff member here at the door receives mental health training. That means every young person who walks in here with a mental health challenge, whether they are aware of it or not, is much more likely to get the help that they need. Getting connections to care off the ground and creating more places like the door will require a great deal of hard work, but we are on our way. This fall, we will release a mental health roadmap, a plan of action that will lay out the steps we must take as a city to build the kind of mental health system we need. And I have to say that days like this remind me of my father. He was, by all accounts, a man of very few words. So there are things that he would say that I can never forget, like, if you have your health, you have everything. Now, I agree with my father about that, but now I have to add another line. If you have your health, you have everything, and there is no health without mental health. Thanks to this game-changing grant today, we are one step closer to being a city where getting treatment for anxiety is as easy as getting treatment for allergies. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, First Lady, so much for those inspiring words. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Wendy Spencer, the CEO of the Corporation for National and Community Service. CNCS is a federal agency that administers the Social Innovation Fund, AmeriCorps, Senior Corps, and other programs that champion community solutions. Wendy's agency also leads the President's National Call to Service initiative, United We Serve. Under Wendy's leadership, CNCS has launched new partnership with public and private partners such as Google, Citi, and the Department of Education, to name a few, creating thousands of additional opportunities for Americans to serve in AmeriCorps. Wendy has served in both Democratic and Republican administrations, and she has consistently demonstrated how national service and social innovation are a transformative and unifying force in our nation. Please join me in welcoming Wendy Spencer.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great day for New York City. I really mean that. I am really filled with a lot of hope. I am, and I'm going to tell you a couple of the reasons why in a minute. Gabrielle, thank you so much for your leadership, First Lady. You're a force of nature, and when she sets her mind on something and her sight and vision, everyone jumps behind her and follows her lead. So I thank you so much for tackling this important and difficult issue. And you're just going head on, and it's wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. I've got some great colleagues here, and across the country, every state, we have a representative, a director, and Jessica Vasquez is our director. Where'd Jessica go? She's right back here. Jessica is our director for the state of New York. Jessica. It's great to have you here. And we also have a new director of Social Innovation Fund for the nation, and that's Damian Thorman. Damian, welcome. Glad you're here. And one of your great colleagues, Partha Patel, is here as well. Hello, Partha. So I'm filled with hope, not only for this particular announcement, because all the work that we're doing around the country. And for those of you who don't know, the Corporation for National and Community Service, we are the federal agency that leads service and volunteerism and innovative ways to tackle tough issues across the country. The landscape is large. 75,000 AmeriCorps members are serving all over the country, includes AmeriCorps Vistas, and every room, there's almost a AmeriCorps Vista or AmeriCorps alum in the audience. I knew it. There's one in the audience everywhere I go, because there are almost 1 million of you over the last 20 years. So, and there's also 270,000 seniors serving in either foster grandparents or senior companions or RSVP across the country. So combined, it's 60,000 locations, plus the well over 900,000 alums. So everywhere I go, I holler out, AmeriCorps or Senior Corps, are you out there? And somebody responds. So we've already got somebody here today, but congratulations on your alumni status. But the Social Innovation Fund is what we're here to talk about today, and it's 5 years young. And what's great about it is that our investment at the federal level yields millions of dollars in local, private, foundation match, funds that are raised at the local level. And year to date, $516 million have been leveraged for very, very important issues and some of the toughest issues around the country, like chronic unemployment, chronic homelessness, dealing with veterans who are troubled, mental health issues, which is what we're talking about today, vast issues around early childhood education. So many important needs that take sometimes an infusion of resources and best practices and that combination to make great progress and take on some of the best practices around the country and scale them. And that's why I'm very pleased that the President introduced the Social Innovation Fund as part of the beginning of his administration. President Obama knew that if the federal government could partner at the local level through intermediaries and local grassroots organizations, that we would be able to accomplish much. And his vision is proving to be true. As the First Lady mentioned, noted a few minutes ago that our agency is now going to be investing up to $10 million, $6 million immediately, and continuing funding that I'm sure we'll be able to offer in years 4 and 5, another $4 million, which is yielding over $20 million in local assets. And I love your name, Connection to Care. That just think about those words, connection to care. That's really what people need, is they need to feel there is a way they can connect to support at the local level in their neighborhoods. And they don't have to go far to find it or have to try to navigate the nomenclature and everything else to get to it. We need to make it accessible. And that's what this is about. So in partnership with the Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, the Center for Economic Opportunity, CEO, a great organization, the New York City Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, this initiative will ensure that more New Yorkers gain access to mental health services they need. With this partnership, we are creating a more unified approach to connecting New Yorkers to services and programs. We're strengthening the skill sets of community health workers who serve undiagnosed and untreated individuals. And we're working to reduce the stigma associated with seeking help. Yesterday, I was interviewed by some media outlets, and one of the reporters said, "So Wendy, what is success to you for this Connections to Care initiative and the Social Innovation Fund and the partnerships?" I said, "Oh, that's an easy one. Success to me is that more New Yorkers will have easy access to immediate care, and they will be on to quickly to a successful, fulfilling life." That's not too much to ask for. It's not too much to ask for, and we all have an interest in this. None of us are immune from knowing someone who has some kind of a mental health or disease that they are sometimes afraid and don't know where to go. And it does have a stigma of reaching out. So we need to do everything we can to reach out to our neighbors and have this connection so that they can quickly seek access to support. Now, before I close, I want to briefly address something that you may have heard about. Congress is proposing significant cuts to our agency in these hours of difficult times across the country with our fiscal budget. And in fact, they've even discussed eliminating the Social Innovation Fund, which would be a tragedy. These cuts would be devastating. They would commit grave circumstances and outcomes to communities. To think that we've got something that works. And what the American people want is the American taxpayer wants to know that we're investing in things that work and that's something that they really believe in. And I'm here to say, after canvassing this country for the last 3 years, that AmeriCorps Senior Corps, the Social Innovation Fund, works. It is working. And it is also something that leaders and everyday citizens have realized is something important that we need to invest in, both at the public and the private investment sector. So I'm hopeful that Congress is going to see the light and realize those things that are important to the American people that actually work is something that we're going to continue to fund. I know a representative, I think from Senator Gillibrand's office is here, Ustan. Good to have you. Please give the senator our best wishes. She's a great supporter of our work, and she's a great New Yorker, and she represents you and the country well in her seat, and she's just been a stalwart supporter. Because President Obama often reminds us, and this is his quote, we don't just want everyone to share in America's success, we want everyone to contribute to our success. We want participants. We want big citizenship. We want everyone to take part. And I think with this partnership, and I know that this is a way that we're going to be able to make not just a dent, but significant impacts over the coming weeks, months, and years, addressing this important population, people we all know that have mental health issues. And I'm confident that we're going to make great strides, and you are going to be a model for the rest of the country. And I talked to the First Lady, and I said, get ready, because I'm going to call on you to share the success, because there are other areas in the country that desperately need to follow this lead. So congratulations, New York City, on this great grant. Congratulations, New York, the fund for New York's advance for New York City as well. And congratulations to all that are participating here today, and also the sub-grantees that we'll see soon in a couple of months. Congratulations and thanks for partnering with us.
Thank you so much, Wendy. I am so pleased to now introduce someone who has dedicated her career to advancing health equity and who knows firsthand why Connections to Care's focus on mental health and making mental health care more accessible to New Yorkers, particularly vulnerable New Yorkers, is so important for our city. So pleased to introduce our Health Commissioner, Mary Bassett.
I know that I can move. Thank you. It's really such a pleasure to be here at the door. This is a place that has iconic status in New York City. When I was a medical student, I had friends who volunteered here because the work it was doing was so important. I want to thank you, Gabrielle, and everyone who is here today, especially our First Lady, who has made increasing mental health services and access to these services such a key priority for our city. I think her honesty about her family's struggles has really changed the conversation that we're having about mental health, and it's helped ignite a whole new level of engagement that we need to have not only in this city but across the nation. So it really has been a call to action. And I want to acknowledge how important that is and how necessary it is, because we need progress. And, you know, New York City's health department is proud to have been a pioneer in many things. You may know that we have halved the deaths due to heart disease in the city over the past couple of decades due to lots of pioneering work, including pushing down smoking rates in the city. And we have lowered our premature mortality, that's deaths among people before the age of 65, by 16% just in the past less than a decade alone. But when we look at mental health, it's just not happening. When we look back over the percentage of New Yorkers who report serious psychological distress, it's just staying at between 5 and 6% over the past 10 years. And this is not acceptable because mental health is so critically important to well-being, not only to the individuals, but to their whole ability to participate in a fully realized life. It matters to someone's physical health. It matters to their ability to achieve in school, to enter the job market. It matters to their ability to be a good parent, to participate in their family. It matters to the health of our entire communities. And that's why it's really summed up by saying that mental health is part of health, is critical to health, that there is no health without mental health. And to that, we have to add that mental health is everybody's business. And that's why it's so appropriate that this should be a public-private partnership that we are participating and announcing today, because it involves every sector of our society. We need to bring more people to this effort. The door has set a huge example in doing that, and we need to bring many other social services into the arena, give them the skills so that we can make mental health part of all the work that we do. And that's what C2C, as it's called, has done. I want to acknowledge the Executive Deputy Commissioner for Mental Hygiene at the Health Department, who has really brought new vision to our work in this area. He's been with us for less than a year, and he's really talked about how important it is that all of us begin to adopt skills in dealing with mental health issues. Because many people may not know how to get access to services, but we're touching their lives. And so we should never miss a chance when we touch people's lives to also ensure that their mental health issues are addressed and that the people in these community-based organizations have the skills to address them. So that's why this grant is so important in the more comprehensive and even more ambitious strategy that we expect to announce in the fall, which the First Lady described as the mental health roadmap. So these efforts will really ensure that many more people who now fall through the cracks will gain access to mental health services. So I want to thank everyone here again today, and our First Lady in particular. Nobody was pushing anyone to take up this issue. But I guess she heard her father's words when she decided, and also her own life story, when she decided to take it up. And it makes me think of my father's words. He would say when I told him I had a really big problem to deal with, that it's time to get busy. And that's what we're doing here today. Thanks very much.
Now I would like to turn to Mindy Tarlow, who is the Director of the Mayor's Office of Operations. Not only does Mindy oversee the Center for Economic Opportunity, our partner in today's announcement, but she also has a hugely important task of championing the city's vision to combine efficiency with social responsibility. We're so pleased to have her here today, Mindy Tarlow.
Thanks so much, Gabrielle. Thanks to the Door and my former colleague, Julie Shapiro, for hosting us here today. I'm so proud, and just to the First Lady personally, so personally moved to be part of this celebration, but certainly part of this effort of Connections to Care, or C2C, or perhaps C2 Shining C, becoming a Social Innovation Fund program, and I couldn't be happier to represent the Center for Economic Opportunity's role in this partnership. Some of you might know that prior to joining the de Blasio administration, I myself was the executive director of a nonprofit that got jobs for men and women returning from prison, which itself was a recipient of 2 of the first ever Social Innovation Fund awards. So I know firsthand, and really want to underscore what Wendy Spencer said, that recognition by the CIF is a tremendous validation. It put us on the map, and I know it will help bring attention, national attention, in fact, to the important project we're talking about here today. The Center for Economic Opportunity is a unit within the Office of Operations. Its role is to reduce poverty by advancing evidence-based policymaking. It conducts research, helps design new service models, monitors performance of key programs, and evaluates important initiatives across the city. I want to acknowledge the center's staff who have supported this CIF effort, my colleague, especially the executive director, Matt Klein, as well as Carson Hicks, Kate Dempsey, David Berman, Sinead Keegan, Shamara Wright, and Bridget Billet. They and the rest of the center's team play a critical role in helping the administration build and follow data and evidence as we identify and respond to the needs of all New Yorkers. And the need that Connections to Care is addressing is so important. So many of us can identify with the importance of mental health treatment based on our own experiences and those of friends and family members. Parents, young people, job seekers all become more vulnerable if they struggle with depression or anxiety or more serious conditions. Staff of community-based providers that work with the city almost universally cite the need to better address mental health issues for their clients and for the residents of our city. Through this grant and through this tremendous partnership we have with the Mayor's Fund, DOHMH, and CNCS, social service organizations will be better equipped to support their clients. So, for example, when an overwhelmed parent picks up their child at daycare, the staff member she encounters every day can now ask her the right questions. And if she mentions that she's been having a tough time, they can try to deal with that right then and there. The staff member will have resources to assist this young mom on the spot. They may have a specialist at the site she can talk to that day or another, or they can connect the mom to a provider nearby who has weeknight hours that don't conflict with her schedule. We will carefully evaluate the impact of this grant and stand ready to support you as we go forward. And we'll watch the data, because data isn't just about numbers. Data tells stories about real people. And in New York, nobody's story should be that they couldn't get the care that they needed. So we're so grateful to our city's First Lady for her leadership in this area, and to the Corporation for National and Community Service for this award. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
It is my great pleasure now to introduce our host for this event, the Executive Director of The Door, Julie Shapiro. With an ever-increasing number of young people coming to the door for its services, Julie is the leader of a team that is working tirelessly to provide some of our most vulnerable New Yorkers with the highest quality of help, and as you heard, mental health resources, which it really sets the door apart in our city. And we're so pleased to be here today. Thank you, Julie.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks so much for being here and welcome. We're incredibly honored that the First Lady and the Mayor's Fund chose The Door as the site to make this important and exciting announcement about increased resources for vulnerable New Yorkers in need of mental health services. It's an extra honor because we're also a CNCS grantee a couple times with the Social Innovation Fund and another VISTA program. And Mindy's exactly right. Having that funding is very prestigious and sort of helps organizations get to the next level of support. And so we're very honored to be with you here today. Here at The Door, in this building alone, we serve 10,000 young people every year, all with different needs. And as the First Lady said, they come for a lot of different reasons. Some come looking for a job. Some come to get their high school equivalency. Some come to see a doctor or a dentist. Some come to get a hot meal or to have a shower or just to hang out for a little while. A lot of them come to dance or make music. And what often happens is they come for one reason and they end up sticking around, and that's sort of how it all works. So when a young person comes for a doctor's visit, she may be drawn into an opportunity to participate in an internship program. Somebody who gets very connected to a dance teacher might also get a connection to a college advisor. And an immigrant young person who's coming in to get a green card, in the process of getting that green card, may realize that he's got some issues he'd like to talk about the trauma of his journey and what he left behind. With this level of seamless integration, we understand how essential it is for staff to have a wide range of knowledge around the needs of young people, particularly vulnerable young people who face many barriers to support. And we can tell you that the needs of vulnerable young people are growing every day, particularly when it comes to mental health care. And also, to echo what Mindy said, I mean, if you ask just about any of our staff in any program, what's the top challenge that they're facing, they'll say it's addressing both recognized and unrecognized mental health needs of the young people we serve. And although, as the First Lady said, 1 in 4 New Yorkers may have an undiagnosed or diagnosed mental health disorder, we know that from our experience that the young people that we serve, a very small fraction of them come forward asking for counseling support. There is an urgent need to increase awareness, understanding, and resources around mental health care in New York City, and we're so pleased that the Mayor's Fund and the First Lady are taking this on. Along with our partner organizations, University Settlement and Broome Street Academy, we've witnessed firsthand this crisis around mental health and the often devastating results that stem from a lack of adequate early care and attention. That's why we place such a high value on the integration of mental health awareness and training to all of our staff and all of our programs. We understand that early recognition and addressing of mental health conditions leads to better outcomes for everyone. At the door in our partner organizations, mental health awareness is woven through every aspect of every program. As a result, staff are often the first to identify a need and the first to present a pathway to wellness. Our staff become conduits to care for thousands of New Yorkers, which is what this initiative is all about. We greatly applaud the Mayor's Fund and are excited to see how access to care for all New Yorkers will improve as a result. Some of you might have been a little bit inconvenienced by the construction we're having in our building. Bear with us. It's a sign of growth and new opportunity here. So we're doing a full renovation of our space that's going to lead to much better care, and the space is going to be amazingly beautiful. So we're going to invite you all back in a couple of months. Thanks again.
And we have time for a few on-topic questions, if there are any.
Great. So just when I call on you, just state your name and your outlet. Stacey? Stacey Sager, Channel 7. Ms. McCray, I'm wondering if you can explain to us logistically or practically how would this work? Will these agencies be applying for money or applying to be part of Connections to Care? And when exactly will it begin?
Well, the Mayor's Fund will issue RFPs in the fall, and we expect to select providers in the winter, and we hope that programs will be ramped up and ready to go by spring.
Okay. And one more question, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
How is it that your personal issues in your own family really propelled you in this way? Have you had a conversation with your daughter about all this?
Oh my goodness, I've had many conversations, and I want you to know that, yes, I actually learned about my parents by doing this work. I realized that, oh my God, my parents had depression. That's why they didn't talk. That's why they withdrew. I mean, I really did not know. And that this is also their experience, but I've had many other experiences with friends, with neighbors, people on the street. There's so many instances that I could tell you that have propelled me to take on this issue. I feel very uncomfortable when there's something, it's like an elephant in the room and no one's talking about it. And I've had that experience over and over and over again at all stages of my life. And I felt like this was the time to take it on. Does that answer your question?
Did you talk about your daughter?
Yes, of course. Of course. Oh, yes. Many conversations.
Ross Barkin, the New York Observer, also a question for Ms. McCray. Was it through this work that you realized your parents were depressed, or did you know previously, or wasn't until recently when it occurred to you?
It didn't really occur to me. I didn't have that word, depression. I didn't really know what that meant when I was a kid. And I just thought they were sad. They were sad a lot. They were very sad. My father would often not talk for long periods of time. Like, he'd go a week and not maybe say, good morning, good night. So that recognition of what they were probably suffering from came to me, again, as I was working on this issue.
Yeah, Laura, and just a question of the ground, keeping it on topic.
Yeah, for either Ms. McCray or Dr. Bassett, does the grant money go toward training people who are at these nonprofit agencies to be in any way sort of clinically able to diagnose or treat people? And then second part of that, is this going to increase funding to bring more doctors or psychologists, trained psychiatrists to areas where there may be a shortage around the city?
We're going to let
Okay. Well, this grant will train the existing staff at our partners, at the community-based organizations. In applying for the grant, the service provider partners with a mental health provider, and they apply together. And the mental health provider will train the staff and then stay involved in long-term through coaching and follow-up. But they are not clinically diagnosing. It's really more about they'll learn techniques that there is some initial evidence showing that these techniques can help through counseling, through referrals, through different measures of kind of getting them the care they need, getting them a referral they need, helping them to talk and open up, and really leveraging staff that already is involved in these folks' life and creating a network of support.
Just to follow up, is there a sense that a lot of the mental health issues that you're seeing in low-income communities around New York could be adequately addressed just by that level of correspondence, care, communication, or do you think there's a shortage of doctors and...
That's fine, we should have the psychiatrist.
As I often introduce myself, I'm a psychiatrist, but in a good way. Yeah, the key, and was just mentioned, the key about this is building whole new partnerships. So it really widens who participates in various parts of care and reaching people. And so a lot of the tasks for that can be done by non-specialized people who are often more credible to the folks we're trying to reach. And so that's the driving philosophy of this. So what the RFP will invite are these partnerships to come forward and describe how they're going to work together to optimize that opportunity of the people that they're seeing in these CBOs, to optimize how they can help them. So we're excited about the ideas that we may get from this. We're probably going to list a menu of certain what we think are core evidence-based practices that we know can be done by non-specialized people and can be very effective, not only in helping people get better, but often to be the key ingredient, what keeps them in care and keeps them understanding their options. So the partnerships is the key. It's really reorienting players to work together differently and spread skills that way.
But is there a problem, I guess I was sort of backing into this, are there enough specialists, doctors, trained people in the areas that you're trying to reach to address this mental health crisis, or is that a separate problem?
It's a very related problem in the following way. One is, yes, we know from our own surveys that people with serious levels of symptoms report that they don't get care or they can't find care. It's not for various reasons. It's not accessible to them. It's not familiar to them. They don't know where to go. And we know that in certain areas of the city compared to other parts of the country, we have lower rates of mental health professionals. So there's that issue. But specialized people aren't the key answer or the only part of this equation. I think that's what's being emphasized here. It's how we leverage their expertise to enable others to also be effective in the things that they can do.
For Dr. Belkin also, if you could, I just wanted to clarify that the mental health provider is going to train the CBO. Is that right? Is that what you were saying? And maybe the CBO will give some form of treatment, or maybe the CBO will refer out.
Again, we're inviting our partnerships of CBOs and behavioral health providers to identify how they're going to work together, to share skills, and to identify who they're trying to reach, and to show how they think they can be effective. So we are probably going to identify, again, a core set of what we think is a starting set of best practices involving screening, basic kinds of counseling, really basic skills that are tested and applicable to non-specialized people to use. But then we really want to spur innovation, how they're going to progress that. Will there be some on-site presence of the behavioral health partner? Will there be some referral? Are they going to focus on certain subpopulations in their agency that really, are a high priority of need? So a lot of that we want people to show us how they're going to take advantage of this partnership.
One last thing, could you give some examples of the CBOs you're hoping to train?
Well, I think a lot of the people you've heard before me gave a lot of examples of other places in our communities, like this place, where people with issues around mental health walk through every day, and we don't touch them the way we should to address those issues. So whether it's programs that adolescents feel otherwise comfortable in, or job training programs, or programs for new mothers, or wherever we find people that are particularly vulnerable is who we'd like to see come forward and try to think boldly about how they can be part of the mental health system.
Thanks, guys.